Welcome to today's episode. Today we've got a very exciting guest, Jeff Johnston. Jeff is the founder and CEO of an AI mental wellness planning app called Brightn. Jeff's passion comes from personal losses, which have empowered him to improve human flourishing. He lives in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, with his 2 sons, a daughter-in-law, 3 cats, and a dog. So welcome, Jeff.
Hey, Mark, it's great to be here. I'm excited to have this conversation. Yeah, Cedar Rapids, for people that not familiar where that is, they get it confused with Idaho frequently. So we're corn, not potatoes. It's Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Iowa.
Flyover state. We're right. I'm 4 hours from Chicago, Minneapolis, St. Louis, and Omaha, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, that's convenient.
It is.
Awesome. And for those of you just joining the podcast, we at Strativa AI help businesses scale their revenue over 12 months using AI. So if you want to learn how to take your business to the next level, make sure to stick around for future episodes. And if you're interested in a free growth consultation, just drop the word growth into the DMs. So Jeff, can you tell us a bit more about yourself and about your journey and how you got to where you are?
Yeah. So I would say the best time to go back is 2016. If we just, go backwards in time a little bit. That particular
9 years.
October 4th, to be precise, October of 2016, I was 50 years old. I was the president and founder of a wealth management firm here in Cedar Rapids. Had 9 employees and multiple financial advisors kind of under our umbrella. And I had a TV show. I did TV for 5 years and I did radio for 15, all in the investment realm, because that's what I love to do since I was 23. I was happily married to my wife, Prudence, and I had 3 boys. Seth was our oldest at 23, Ian 15, Roman 13. And, just kind of scooting along life pretty good, 50 years old, checking all the boxes, all the things I aspired to be as a young man out of college. I felt like I'd achieved all of them, not without, the bumps and the trials and tribulations that we all have.
Mm-hmm.
And then on that day, everything changed in my life and in everyone connected to us. Our oldest son, Seth, at the age of 23, was found dead of a fentanyl poisoning, overdose, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, whatever. People sometimes get upset about the semantics, but he's not here. That's all I care.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
And that's the first time I've ever heard of fentanyl. Yeah, I never heard of fentanyl. I knew of addictions and stuff because I had a drinking issue. But I just, this thing fentanyl, I'm like, now, wait a minute. So that was the very first time that in my life, I would say that I actually was stopped in my tracks where what I thought I wanted in my life, what the pursuits I was chasing, my ego was such a strong, distraction from being peaceful and joy because I was so worried about what other people always thought about me. And as much as Seth was struggling, I always worried what the community would think because Seth was in prison before he died. And I always thought, geez, I'm the only one that has a son in prison. And really, selfishly, this became about me until he died. And then it was very clear that that was very short-sighted, very egocentric, and that I missed opportunities to be a better dad. I don't harbor a lot of guilt anymore because I think given the same situation, I think I would do everything pretty much the same over again. But there was a lot of lessons in there. There was a lot of important lessons in there that I took from all this. And that really started my advocacy into mental health, mental wellness, I'd like to call it. Yeah, I decided that, I needed to take about a year and a half off. So I stayed home with my wife who was, she was obviously struggling. Losing a child is indescribable. And I thought I would just stay and work on our marriage and work on everything. And as it turned out, her and I just got drunker every day because what people didn't know is that I was a high functioning alcoholic since probably 18 or 19 years old. So I could drink 5, 6, 7 days a week, all between the hours of like 6 and 10 and be very productive. And like most things in life, they don't become a problem until they become a problem. And about a year and a half of sitting home, I realized that my wife's drinking was getting really bad. So I decided to stop, which turned out to be the best move I ever made in my life. It's coming up on 8 years now.
Oh, congrats. Yeah. I've got a history of that as well. Yeah. It's nice to be on the other side.
It is. And really, I think as I fight through my pain and suffering that I deal with every day, I think having a clear mind, and I don't even use the word sober, Mark, because I've never liked that term. Because it implies that I'm in some mythical fight with some demonic creature. And to me, I very simplified my not drinking. My relationship with alcohol is pretty much just that. I just don't drink. It's very clear.
Yeah.
But I really thought me showing strength, because when I saw my wife on that Christmas Eve of 17, and she looked 9 years older than me, and she was actually 9 years younger than me.
Oh,
I thought, wow, you couldn't stop when your son was struggling, because Seth had an alcohol problem too. And now you're losing your wife, you got to man up, dude. So I went in the bathroom, looked in the mirror, and I tell people when I talk, there's one person that can't lie, and you can't lie too, I mean,
yep.
and that's the mirror. That's the mirror.
100%. Yeah.
And so I just said, you got to stop drinking. So I really thought that would help my wife, but unfortunately it didn't. And on June 29th of 21, she lost her fight with alcohol, grief,
Oh my gosh.
depression, anxiety, prescription pills, you name it. So from 50 to 55, when again, my ego found this observation important, apparently, when my peers were like buying second homes and traveling, I was burying my family. And then 3 weeks after
Oh
that,
my
my wife
gosh.
died. Yeah. 3 months after that, my mom
Oh,
passed away.
oh my gosh. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So I sat in my closet with a gun to my head,
Oh,
Christmas weekend of 2021.
really?
Yeah. Yeah. And I was convinced that death could not be worse than the hell I was living. Fortunately, I didn't buy that narrative. And when I talk to people about suicidal ideation and stuff, I think it takes a strong person to be vulnerable about it, but you got to be careful about how you use it. Um, Certainly in places of employment and around weapons and things like that, it's probably not a good idea to bring it up. But I think
Mm,
society's embracing it a lot more when you see Anthony Bourdain and Robin Williams, and you see a lot of really
yeah.
famous people, and you just go, what? There's no way, and that's
Yeah.
so I'm a 59-year-old man. I talk about my struggles. I'm vulnerable. And all I know is that I'm here today. I made it to today. And that gives me a lot of pride. I know I got a lot of fight in me, and I have a lot of fight that I'll be fighting left to have.
Nice. I love it. Wow. Yeah. I mean, talk about there's so much to unpack there. And like I said, I personally relate with a lot of it. I too went through some big challenges a few years ago with personal losses that were all wrapped together
Mhm.
kind of successively right in a row. And like I said, yeah, I've come out the other side. And I think that, yeah, just sharing from the heart is what it's all about, because we're not only helping the people that we share with, but we're helping ourselves, every single day. And
Mhm.
so now you've taken it really to another level, though, where your work with Brightn
Yeah.
has, when you and I spoke last week, yeah, you really mentioned about this new trajectory that you're on. And so can
Yeah.
you share some about what Brightn does, and where did you start with it, and what's your growth been like with it? Either
Yeah.
company size or subscribers, or just let's hear about Brightn.
Yeah, so the idea of Brighton came from in 2022. I was thinking, how does the financial like services industry that I did for so many years, how,
Yeah.
how could I find a common ground? Like if I'm going to start a mental wellness startup, especially an app, what could I learn from my past career? And so what I did is I looked at when I first came into the financial planning industry in '89, it was all just, there wasn't any financial planning. It was just, you gave me your money, I put you in a mutual fund and I got a commission, or I put you in life insurance. That was about it.
Yeah.
And then early '90s, this concept of planning came out, and these companies came out with software like Financial Profiles and Money Guide Pro, and where you could do a financial plan on somebody, and then you could recommend what percentage that client would need to have in, say, stocks, bonds, real estate, or whatever. Okay. It's just called
Yeah.
diversification. It's like
Yeah.
investing 101. Well, I came into the mental health industry. First of all, I don't say mental health. We say mental wellness at Brighton,
Right.
because
I picked up
we're
on that before. Yeah.
yeah. And now we're trying to say human flourishing over mental wellness. But I looked at the industry and I thought, okay, very similar when I first came into investments, is that everything's siloed. Not many people are working together, and everything's episodic and acute. So you wait for someone to have a problem, like my son, you take him to the doctor, you walk out with a bottle of Adderall,
Mm.
or, somebody's an alcoholic, you send them to rehab, and then they come back and they don't drink. It's like, I think we're missing something. I thought, and then I saw a quote that Desmond Tutu said that really like resonated for me. He said, at some point, we need to stop pulling people out of the river. We need to move further upstream and find out why they're falling in the first place. And
Nice.
I thought,
Wow.
yeah, and I thought, well, that's what I want to do with Brightn. I want to build the nation's first mental wellness planning app aimed at optimizing human flourishing. And then the key here is at the intersection of health, wealth, and purpose. So when I was thinking about
Okay.
the mental wellness planning app, what would I diversify in? If I were to take a person and I had the ability to like diversify and prevent mental illness, or,
Yep.
problems, where would be 3 areas I'd want to really focus on? To me, it was
Where's
health,
it going
wealth,
to
and
go?
purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So our AI-driven app is predicated on obviously using AI. It's all personalized and customized, and we could talk about the guardrails and what we've done to really train the AI in a really, I think, a good manner. And the AI is extremely easy to use, which I think that's why our engagement numbers have really gone up. I just made a post yesterday. I didn't share this with you when we met, but for the month of August, we had 25 million words used on our AI journaling and mood tracking. And to give you in context, that's like, I think someone said it's like reading the Harry Potter series 23 times in a row.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And so
So
is that, are you
1
saying, is
month.
that part of your knowledge base that you've trained it with, or what are those words?
Well,
Where
these
are
would
they?
be journal entries. So if I put in my entry, hey, I got a speech today, I'm nervous, and the AI says, well, here's a couple breathwork exercises, and you keep interacting with the AI,
Yeah,
that'd be 25 million words we had in 1 month. And this month right now,
I see.
we're at 45 million already. So it's gone up close to 100%. So what we're finding is tremendous usage of AI, counter to what you hear about Armageddon and the end of the world, going to take all humans. And just, it's like, every time you have a disruptive technology, whether it's the wheel or fire, airplanes or whatever, or, electric cars, for example, right now,
Yep. Yep.
it's always the end of humanity. And I'm not an AI guy. First of all, I'm not a tech guy. I don't believe the doom and gloom that everyone promotes. Seems like it's easy for us to do that as humans. And so we've done a really good job at Brightn. If you look at the interactions and the engagements and even our churn rates and things like that are either higher or lower than the metrics out there, depending on which is better.
And so can you speak to your subscriber base? Well, when did it come out as an actual product? And
Yeah.
then, what's it like today? And
We
yeah,
launched at 9 of 22,
yeah,
and we did, I think, 6 to 8 months of just pure beta. We didn't actually
sure.
come to market with it. We were building it behind the scenes. But our incorporation date is 9/20/22. And then in 9 of 23, we actually started the MVP and we rolled it out. We won about a year where it was free. And at that time, really all we had was a B2C model. We just had a subscription, $6.95 a month, and a family plan and stuff. And that's very slow pace, especially if you don't have a massive presence. And I hired at that time a fractional CTO who's now my co-founder, and he's the one that built the machine. He was a founder of a startup in Chicago called Fan Food,
Okay.
and Carson is a mad genius when it comes to all the technology stuff. And so
That's
I
great.
consider myself, Mark, a high touch CEO, and Carson's a high tech co-founder.
There you go.
And
Yeah.
that works
I know
out
what
really
that's like.
well. Yes,
Yeah. I'm more
I don't
along
try
your
to
lines personally.
fake it with investors that I'm some science, I mean, founders have their strengths. They're not
Yeah.
always good at everything.
Yeah.
I like public speaking. I like going on podcasts. I like writing. I like going to conferences. I like that higher level, like visionary type role. Anyway, so
Hmm.
Carson came in, built the app. We've got a full-time curriculum director, chief of staff, Emily. We've got a fractional CMO now that, by the way, we had our first viral TikTok about a month ago.
Cool.
We had a
Congrats.
19-second video, did 1.5 million views on TikTok.
Dang. Oh
Yeah.
man. Be sure to show
Yeah.
that in the, I will show it in the notes, but yeah.
It's hilarious. If you remind me, I'll send it to you and you can post it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
pretty
Of course.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Okay.
And so the other thing I didn't say that I think is kind of important too, and then we can get into the metrics and stuff. But I respect all founders. I respect all CEOs. Anybody that's willing to take a financial commitment. I'm 59, man. I took a lot of my liquidity, a lot of my safety net, a lot of my comfort. I've worked a long time to and put it into a startup. At late 50s. There's a lot of potential downside for this thing if it doesn't work. I don't. I'm okay financially, but certainly this would be a hit for me because I haven't paid myself for 2 years either,
Oh gosh.
and I have bills like everybody else. But I have some money coming from the sale of my investment company. But yeah, I haven't taken a penny out of Brightn. But anyway, 3 weeks after Seth died, his daughter was born. So I was blessed during all this chaos in my life. I was blessed with a granddaughter, and her name is Brightn. So when I was thinking what's a great name for this legacy mission of mine? It was pretty clear that Brightn was going to be like, and it just happened to be that was their name, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Very cool.
Metrics, why we have, I think last month alone, we added 15 or 2,000, I think it was, users on the app. We were averaging a year ago about 5 downloads a day. Today we're averaging about 40 per day. Obviously the challenge is that conversion ratio. It's still not as good as we want it to be, but it's in par with industry standards in the mental health and fitness space.
Okay.
The cool statistic that started really getting us to think, wow, we've built this thing and we know that people are engaging. Well, first of all, the 25 million words is a lot of words for 1 month. But our 30-day retention, and just to give you an example, in the mental wellness and fitness space, 30-day retention for apps is probably around 5-6%, maybe up to 8 in that range,
Okay.
5 to 8%.
Is it okay?
Our 30-day retention is 19.8% right now.
Oh, wow.
And I think a lot of it's because the AI that we've used, we've gamified the app. So you get points when everything you do in the app. We have 500 videos on the app that the AI will send to you, videos on health, wealth, and purpose that,
That's
a lot of
cool.
them we filmed ourselves. I think when people are in the app and they're either going through crisis or they're just curious, there's lots of ways. It's like walking into a library that you stopped in to grab one book, and then like an hour later, you're like, oh man, I'm looking at all these cool books. And I kind of think of the app like this mental wellness library that once you're in the library, then it's like full of, I like to say, self-assessing and autonomous learning. So the whole experience with Brightn, even though it's based very clinically, like we have a neuroscientist and 2 MDs on our advisory board, we wanted to have the feel of being very credible. We didn't want to be clinical. I think there's a
Okay.
psychological difference that if you're working on something and you feel like somebody's hovering or somebody's trying to like figure out what's wrong with you, our whole
Figure
thing is,
you out. Yeah.
our whole thing is let's tell you what's going well. And if you have deficiencies in these areas, here's some ways you can work on it. So we aren't telehealth. We're not teletherapy. We are prevention and pre-treatment.
Interesting. Okay. Got it. And so then the users, you mentioned before that it started out as like mainly a B to C thing where you're
Right.
talking about them being in these roles of kind of like ahead of situations. And is that still the case, or do you have some like B2B stuff going on as well?
Yeah, we made a really fortunate inroads into the B2B space, specifically started off with the PBM world, the pharmacy benefit management world.
Huh?
So we have a 3-year licensing contract with a PBM here in Iowa that what we've built and with the dashboard we're building for MedOne, that's the name of the company. We can show prescription adherences. We can show overall mood tracking on the AI journaling and mood tracking, and we can provide kind of like 100 different data points on a holistic level. So like, I'm not going to be sharing like Mark's personal, unless you allowed that at onboarding. There's always an option for the person using the app to say, hey, I'd like to have my data metrics supplied to my provider or my
Okay.
therapist or,
Yeah.
And so what we've done is we've just kind of timing or whatever you want to call it. This particular company was looking for a patient-facing digital therapeutic device that was in the preventative space, prevention, not, I shouldn't even say therapeutic, but because
Yeah.
we aren't
But
treatment,
at the beginning, like we were just talking
yeah.
about. Yeah. Yeah.
And now it's like after we got that deal done, now we've got 2 more deals signed. One's an NDA, the other we're going to get this week, that make this first deal look so small. This is a massive
Congrats.
opportunity. Yeah, to be in the ability for Brightn to, I'll be pretty brief here, but typically if we want to get reimbursed like through the billing codes, the national drug codes.
Yep.
You have to be FDA approved. Like you have to have an FDA approved product, and we're not classified as a medical device. We're mental health and fitness,
Mm-hmm.
or mental health, I guess, primarily. And FDA is like $500,000 to $1 million. It takes like 2 years. It's a long process. So it's just not something that probably is going to be happening for Brightn. However, if we can piggyback or embed in an existing program, like either an MSO or a telehealth company that deals with the providers directly, they can use Brightn as a part of the application process or whatever you want to call it to apply for these codes, and then Brightn increases their likelihood of getting reimbursed. And then we can revenue share, we can license. So there's a way for us to get compensated that doesn't involve us, A, going directly to the provider, and B, does not need us to get FDA approval.
Yeah.
And we have 2 of those deals. Yeah, we have 2 deals going right now. And if one of these, well, one already has, but if we get both of them, it just really makes us a really big player in this space. And now we have a seat at the table. We have, a large patient base, and we're providing tremendous value in the preventative space, which is really where my heart's always been. I didn't really want to build an app to introduce your kids to get more labels and more drugs. That wasn't like my legacy. But at the same time, if I'm going to be a preventative app, I need to have the off ramps. I need to have the ability for people who do need to get diagnosed and get treatment. I want to make sure that they can. And so that's why these partnerships with some of these telehealth companies, or this one particular telehealth company, and they're $1 billion company, and they just absolutely love what we build. And I shudder to think what we've done with a small team, very little raise. We've only raised $700,000, for a pre-seed startup out of Iowa with our team and all the odds stacked against us. I'm pretty proud of where we're at, but we have a long ways to go. I mean, we're still very early revenue. We have some revenue, but not substantial, but we've got contracts signed that will provide us revenue. We're just not realizing it as of yet. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Sure. And then, so you mentioned that you've got a lot of videos that people can plug into, and in alignment with what you were talking about, how the user is using it and could tie into other professionals so that they receive some of their information. What does that interconnectedness look like? And does it also provide like other potential resources? Like you might want to look up, this either field or this specific type of professional, like what references there does it give someone when they're just, at the beginning stages of things? And then also, like, again, back to that tactical, like very specific of being able to tie in said providers. For instance, like, I'm on an app called Our Family Wizard where me and my ex-wife, we communicate. And back in the day, we had professionals that were in the app with us that could also see the communications and help with us, right? And so, but then that's trailed off because we just don't need that. Our relationship has evolved, but we're still in the app just talking to each other. So I didn't know like how much a professional could actually get tied into being part of the experience.
Well, I'll answer that last part first, and I'll go back to the other kind of comments you made. But yeah, I mean, that's now where our go-to-market is. Most of what we're going to be doing going into our next round raise, which will be next year, our seed round, is to tie in together what you just said, where we'll be able to, have onboarding, and then we can provide metrics to, say, your therapist or to your physician or whoever you're going to see in between sessions prior to a meeting. Because what happens is you show up and you sit down and they say, "How you doing?" You're like, "Good." And it's like, that's not a real accurate assessment of like the month before your meeting.
Yeah.
So I think if we can nudge our thrivers on the app to make, 2 or 3 or 5 like journal entries a day. And sometimes it could just be a mood check-in. You're just showing what mood you're in. And then the AI, the more you feed it, the more it can start personalizing from those videos. So we have a patent pending on something called the Brightn zone. So I wanted to take this idea and make it very visual, easy to understand. So we have a pyramid with health, wealth, and purpose on each of the corners. And when you take your 9-question onboarding, so it's only 9, 3 in each area, and that was designed by a neuroscientist. We've weighted them, not right or wrong, but just weighted them where your deficiencies would be. And then based on your first onboarding, then we immediately start saying, "Hey, you're low on wealth. Here are 3 or 4 videos from our inventory that you should be watching to help yourself." So then you mark them as you'd like to have them on your plan. So on your homepage, they show up like sticky notes do. When you get up in the morning, you have all these sticky notes all over your desk, like I do. On your homepage every morning, you get up and you'll have like a to-do list. It's all AI generated from your AI interactions and your onboarding and your daily mood tracking and journaling. And that's called the Brightn zone, and we have a patent pending on that to protect our intellectual property. And then the other thing that's a new addition, we'll be adding streaks as well. Right now we don't have streaks, and we have seen that addition of people to be able to say they're, on your 50th day or 200th day, that increases your engagement number. So we'll be adding that probably this week.
Nice.
And then what's really cool is no matter what city you're in, United States, pick a city and you just say, "Hey, I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm feeling depressed. I'm struggling with drinking, let's say, what are some local resources, or who are local resources I could get in touch with. And then right out of the bat, within 5 seconds, we'll give you a list of 5, 6, 7, 8 local resources, phone numbers, websites, links. And what's better yet is our partnership with this telehealth company. You'll be able to book, you can click on a link and it'll say, I'd like to talk to someone right now. You click on it and we have a database that they have, we'll be tapping into, where we can refer that person then within just a matter of, a few minutes from
That's
their
great.
first interaction
It's
can
huge.
literally have a booked appointment with a therapist.
Yeah.
And then we're not providing, we're outsourcing that part. And that's where I didn't want to be an end all be all for everybody, but I saw an over proliferation or overemphasis on treatment. Like 80% of the optics, 80% of the money, 80% of the nonprofits were all based on putting out fires. And I'm like, if you look at the last 10 years, how much money we put into treatment, and then look at how the statistics have been, it's an inverse relationship. The more we spend on treatment, the worse people get.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, something is not working. I'm not a
the
doctor.
whole upstream thing.
Yeah. So we need to go and figure out why people are getting themselves in these situations. And again, if we don't actually diagnose and we're not treating, we're just providing data to the providers or these companies that we're licensing with, and stay in our lane, get really good at providing the data. I think the upside's, unlimited for us. And that's what's been attractive for our investors and partners.
And so is the user data, let's take a thriver who is okay with sharing some of their information. Is the data that they've put in, say, based on those journal entries and whatever else on their streaks or what have you, is that sort of like summarized by the AI so that the practitioner or resource for where they've like reached out for help because, they're in a brand new city that they've never been in before, but they're able to like hit that button. Is any of that data transferred over in a certain way? Again, that they approve, but
yeah, that's a little bit starting to get into the technology part that I'm not the strongest at, but I will tell you this.
okay. Yeah.
We've got what protected or private server, however that term goes, and it's, I think, end-to-end encryption, and we've trained the AI to only really go down roads of health, wealth, and purpose, or any domains like .edu, .stanford, .harvard, and I think we've put in over 150 clinical trials that we fed the AI to train it the best that we could, so you wouldn't have issues like hallucination, or if you did, it would be very minor, like interpretation problems. Whereas if you're putting the same information out on Chat or Claude, you have no idea how it was trained, good or bad. You have no idea.
Right.
So Carson's done a great job protecting privacy and sensitive information. We also have 3-step protocol depending on the crisis someone's in. So if it's self-harm, if it's drugs, if it's depression, anxiety, bullying, whatever their situation is, we have a 3-step protocol designed specific to find out if they're safe. Can they contact a trusted loved one? So one thing we're going to be doing is we'll be on onboarding. I've been to many AA meetings because I told you I stopped drinking 8 years ago. And one of the great things about AA is a sponsor, having a sponsor. I thought, why don't we have like a Brightn? Why don't we have a Brightn buddy? When you download the app, when you download the app and when you onboard, you list 2 or 3 people, put in their email, maybe their phone number, and those people are stored as Brightn buddies. And so if you're in a crisis mode, we can say, hey, do you want to contact one of your buddies? Here's their cell phone or something. And what we're trying to do is reduce the pain points, frictions of those split-second decisions where someone decides to take their life, like I almost did, and those little tiny ways that we can get people help in the quickest way possible without judging them, without being condescending to them, just being very kind of matter of fact. But the AI really can't have empathy, but it certainly can have the perception of empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And really, at the end of the day, if someone decides not to do something and it's because the AI helped them, who really cares? I mean, at this point, I know we're not replacing a human. I know that's not our objective, but there's plenty of people that take their own life after talking to a human too. So, I mean, some of these stories coming out where people have had completed suicide through AI interactions. I mean, that would be a big problem if we weren't having suicides without AI interactions, but we're having them anyway. So
right.
I think I look at Brightn. Brightn as Brightn's not the end all be all, and it's certainly not going to be perfect for everybody. But I think as an arrow in the quiver, a tool in the tool chest, further upstream, very low cost. It's 20 cents a day on the B2C side. We are finding out that employers are willing to license with us. everything right now is, looking very favorable that we can scale this as a very, sustainable business entity, which at the end of the day, no matter how much passion you have to have profits at some point. Trust me, I'd love to do this for free and not have to have any investors and have $1 billion in the bank and just go out and help people every day. But I'm not in that position.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And so you guys have certainly leveraged and are developing AI in regards to the product and how it's serving your customers. What have you guys done internally to, say, automate anything or to leverage AI in your own internal workflows?
Yeah, I think with what Carson has done on the business side, on the B2B
Uh-huh.
with the AI inside the app as well. Again, I'm not overly sure on how much AI is being used, behind the scenes without my knowledge, which is probably sizable because I don't know everything that mechanically moves on that our team does. But I know like a lot of our marketing is done with AI. A lot of the summaries that we do like on Slack when we have conversations back and forth, pitch decks, all that stuff now is being AI utilized. And I'm the oldest one on the team. So like the next oldest is probably, just within our team, the next oldest is probably, 31. I'm 59. So yeah, I've
Hmm.
smart enough to know what I'm not good at, and technology is like not my strength. So I trust that the people that are using the AI to build the app are also using whatever parts of AI we need to run the mechanics of Brightn as well. So
Yeah.
that's a good question. I don't have my pulse on that as well as I probably should.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it. Okay. And then so you might not know the answer to this then either, where like either the AI that is more the client facing, right? The kind of core of your services or internally, like do you know of any times of something that you've learned from an experience where the AI gave you guys a challenge or a setback that you didn't expect and that it really affected your business or, what you were putting together or something, and how many lessons learned from that?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but
Yeah.
we get tremendous feedback on the app through the contact us, portal on the app.
Yeah.
Most of it's like very, very favorable. And occasionally we get a billing error. There's some issue with the video didn't link well. And we haven't had any major fires. Everything that we've had has been pretty quickly mitigated. And again, a lesson is learned. The good news is we're not repeating the same issues over and over. So they just morph into different problems, growing pains, I like to call them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't think of any specific example, but I know the hallucination thing has been probably the hottest topic the last 4 or 5 investor pitches I made. And one investor actually said no to us primarily because they weren't convinced that our AI couldn't hallucinate. And he actually went into the app doing their due diligence and we found his conversation. So we were able to validate this. And he lied to our AI and then held it accountable for hallucinating.
Oh,
And
geez.
I did a lot of research on this. And if you lie to the AI, no different if I lie to you right now and you're my therapist
Yeah.
and you give me a bad prescription pill, it's predicated on the, what
On the
garbage in,
lie.
garbage out.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very unfair for this gentleman to go in and trick our AI and kind of confuse them. And then the AI tried its best to do what it can. And then to me, it was very deceptive and very unethical. And I'm kind of happy that they decided to
I
pass
think you
on us because
dodged a bullet there, Jeff.
I don't want to work with people like that,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Who knows what that could have stirred up in the future?
I mean, what's
Yep.
your
Turning the
goal to
page.
kind of just get it to hallucinate? And I think that's probably not too hard to do if you lie to any AI. But the thing is, it's getting better. And the ability to do that, the AI will be trained on what to do if they perceive a lie, and stuff like that. So
True.
it's not
True.
perfect. It's like electric cars. When they first came out, people,
Yeah.
they crashed and people lost their lives, unfortunately. And, there's people thought it would not work. Well, now they're pretty common now.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. They're popping
self-driving
up quite
cars.
a bit.
So yeah.
Yeah. So what's in store over the next 12 months? You mentioned you've got some, potential other big partners, maybe one landing this week, but what's the next major big challenge that you guys want to overcome in the next 12 months? Is it more along the building out the user experience? Is it something just expanding the number of users? I don't know. What could you speak?
It's multifaceted. I mean, in the short term, it's finishing this round, this raise that we have. That in the short term. So we had $1 million was our pre-seed round. We've got about 300,000 left, maybe a little less than that. So we're close to having a bow tie on that. That's in the short term. Like my job as CEO and founder is to be out trying to find somebody to finish that for us. And then in the next midterm would be making sure that some of the things that our sprints are coming up with, like the streaks and the conversational companions and being able to monetize the points. So right now you have points on the app, but we don't have the ability to actually like cash them in for anything. So like I have like 2,000 points. So we're going to be able to have a drop down on the points tab, and you'll be able to, like, for 500 points, plant a tree, 1,000 points, clean a foot of the quarry,
Wow.
remove plastic from the ocean. And that's the pillar of purpose, because I have found, for me personally, what gives me the biggest sense of meaning and purpose is being in service of others. And if we can utilize the point system
Mm-hmm.
as you're working on the app, you're getting the dopamine, serotonin hit for the points. And now we've got the ability to make them like Brightn currency, and you now can spend them. So I'm trying to find corporations or nonprofits or philanthropists that want to help,
Yeah.
buy the trees for us or donate them or whatever. And then the last part would be making sure that the obligations that we've contracted for, the dashboards that we have promised to build out, that we can, because those aren't cheap. I mean, and they take time. So some of these large employers that are signing up with us, we need to build unique dashboards for their ecosystem, and that takes time and resources. So, those are like three big juggling acts I got going on right now.
Oh, you froze there a little bit. Those are
Juggling acts.
juggling acts. Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
Got it. Yeah. Those are great ones. 100%. And so how do you foresee the relationship of AI and human workers being going forward? You mentioned like the Brightn buddies. Yeah. And
Mhm.
I think that's a great example of like tying together AI with human intelligence, the interaction
Uh-huh.
there. And how do you see that relationship like going forward, either for Brightn or for humanity in general, sort of thing?
Well, if we think of AI as a tool versus like a relationship, then you're not having unrealistic expectations. And I think what we're finding is people are looking at AI as a relationship, and it becomes difficult to have a relationship with, AI personally. But there can be subtle opportunities to help you through tough times when you have in between sessions, or it's 2 a.m. and no one that you can reach is up. You can have those conversations, and they can be very brief. But they can be highly impactful, because, things like journaling have been around. I journaled a lot in high school and college, but
Mm-hmm.
you
Oh,
couldn't
yeah.
you couldn't organize it. Now with the large language model, able to go back in your past entries and say, hey, Mark, I noticed a pattern, like, mornings, the first couple hours of each mornings, I notice your moods are different than they are towards the afternoon and evenings. What do you think about that? If
Mm.
I'm writing in a hand journal, I can't get that type of data back.
Right.
And matter of fact, if you do want to write, I think one of our sprints coming up, you'll be able to just basically scan your handwriting and put it into your Brightn journal.
Nice. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because there's a lot
Yeah,
of
that makes
older
sense.
people like my age that still likes to write down.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're trying to use AI and even, I would say, use the phone. The cell phone is right now, contributing to a lot of misery for a lot of people with doom scrolling and following the wrong people. And a lot of these
Right.
young men are shooting people over horrific events. And a lot of that's driven because of their misalignment with who they follow on social media.
Mm-hmm.
They get angry. Yeah, they follow
Entirely.
certain
Yeah.
people, and they feel like they have to go kill somebody over it. It's like that never happened when I grew up. My generation is like, if we can take the phone, where a lot of people, rightly so, think there's a lot of problems, and turn it into their biggest ally through an engaging, enjoyable experience. And the best example I can tell you is, you've heard of Duolingo, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Duolingo had 9 million users on their app that had a streak of over 365 days. And you may think
Wow.
it's a language app. I mean, how can people
Yeah.
stay on it for a year? Well, they've taken something as dry and archaic as learning, and they've made it engaging and fun. And that's how they've done it. So
Yeah.
that same idea could go to mental health, mental wellness, whatever may seem mundane and not fun. You can make it like a Duolingo. And that's what I think we've done with the app. And our 19-second, 1.5 million view TikTok was just two penguins talking about emojis and
Okay.
how they don't understand the emotions behind emojis. And it was 19 minutes long, and it was, 1. views.
19 minutes or 19
19
seconds?
seconds. 19
Yeah, yeah,
seconds.
yeah. That's
And
amazing.
I mean, we had subscriptions, we had downloads, we had requests, just that one video. And again, I wouldn't have done that, but my chief marketing guys, really well versed in those areas. So
That's great.
yeah, it's kind of a neat thing to show that we are having a lot of people following us and starting to engage and kind of look at mental wellness as being normalized and not pathologized. Because right now, all we want to do is pathologize it. Hey, Mark, you're looking out the window, you're not paying attention. Oh, you must have ADHD.
Right.
Here's a pill.
Yeah.
That's a very profitable system for everybody other than the customer.
Yeah.
And, I think if we can just say, hey, Mark, you are maybe a little sad, you're not depressed, you're a little excited, you don't have anxiety. And maybe there's a group of people that have just presented this as a normal human interaction with your own emotions as a guide or as a defense mechanism. Being afraid to go public speak it's not a disorder. I mean,
Right.
it just means you're nervous and your defense mechanisms start creating all these chemical in your body. And today now we just are so quick to like find a label for these things. And I know the reason why. It's very clear. You can't file an insurance claim being very sad. You can't file an
Ah,
insurance claim being excited. You have to be depressed or have anxiety. And then you can
right.
get into the hamster wheel of Western medicine.
Right. Right. Which is
That's the only
literally,
reason. That's
yeah,
the
that
only reason we have
hamster
labels.
wheel. Yeah.
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 So
I'm sorry. What was
we're,
that?
we're
What did you say?
I said that's the only reason we have labels, is because of the insurance reimbursement system. If none of this
Yeah.
stuff
Those
is
codes.
reimbursed,
What code is
yeah,
this going to fit in so that then
yeah,
we can plug them further into this money making opportunity?
prescribing meds, yeah,
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
trying to get more people to embrace things that are free in abundance, exercise, like sunlight, like what you eat and drink, sugar intake, alcohol, who you follow on social media, your relationship with money, all things that are very affordable. And a lot of it's in abundance. And instead of looking at going to the doctor and walking out with Adderall as like the first option, because that's kind of what we did with our son.
Mm,
Um, that was in 2000 and well, he died in 16. So it would have been about 2008. Yeah. So that's what we did. Kid wasn't doing well. You took him to the doctor.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm just
Didn't
saying as
know
the
anything
first
else.
option. Yeah, I'm just saying as the first option, we need to try exhaust some other things. And then if the child or person is still struggling, then go to the doctor, but then use the data that you got on the app to help facilitate that relationship. So then correct
Oh, yeah.
prescriptions. Yeah.
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 And I mean, that's what it sounds like you guys are doing really, really well is building up that network of support that people always talk about, but where you're putting that like really very tactically together of, feedback from each individual user and then having the AI do its strengths with the resources, whether it's a video that they're looking at or a local
Mhm.
resource where they are, or, the Brightn buddy, is that what you called them?
Yeah. Bright
Like,
buddies.
yeah, yeah, like all of that sort of stuff. Like you're just leveraging the power in such an impactful way that it's no wonder that you're getting those investments in it.
Yeah.
Yep,
It's
yep.
certainly exciting, but as a pre-seed early revenue startup, there's a lot of like, I have a massive sense of urgency to get this in the hands of more people. And it's not financial gain. 909 Americans die every day from the deaths of despair from alcohol
Yeah,
overdose. That's 909 families that got the call I got twice.
yeah.
And that's my sense of urgency. Every day I don't close a deal. Every day we don't find resources to keep growing. Every day I don't find the right, team members. That's another day where 909 people die. And I'm like, that's what keeps me up at night. Obviously, I don't want to go bankrupt with this either because I bootstrapped this for a lot of money. But the reality is a bigger sense of urgency for me is just even since we did this podcast, I think 40 or 50 people died.
Gosh.
And a lot of those were preventable and predictable.
Yep. Yep. Well, you are definitely doing fantastic work. And so how can anyone that might be interested in Brightn or sharing about it, just learn more about you guys? What's your website? Where are you on LinkedIn and any other resources that they might want to consider?
Yeah, LinkedIn, I'm under Jeffrey Johnston and also under Brightn. I have two LinkedIn accounts. Facebook, I have Jeffrey Johnston Brightn, and I also have Living Undeterred Project, which is my nonprofit. My email is jeff@brightnapp.com, and the website is www.brightnapp.com. And I'm, again, always looking for opportunities. I mean, every day I get 2 to 4 Zoom meetings of new people I've met on LinkedIn or whatever. And a lot of times there's nothing really to come of it, but these are new friends and allies in this fight. Obviously, we're looking for resources, capital, whether it's VC money, angel investors, or just private, to do what we want to do in the time that we need to do it. We need to keep actively raising funds as we, collect. I think that's probably the biggest asks I would have if anyone has a employer base, if they think this would fit, or a school. We also have a couple charter schools that are clients. And what I have found that
Okay, interesting.
It's hard for us to find some entity where we can't fit. It's hard for us to find an entity where we can't fit. And we also have 2 NBA basketball players that are investors and partners with us. So we've got professional sports that can use the app as well. We've got charter schools, and we've got the insurance pathway. So obviously we don't want to be spread too thin, but what the market's telling us is there's a tremendous demand, but there's multiple channels in the demand. And so at the stage we're at, we can't go a third and just get watered down. So we're going heavy on the one that can get us to the quickest amount of revenue so we can keep scaling, but not neglect the other opportunities, because obviously we want to help as many people as we can. So yeah, it's like any startup. It's good and challenging.
Right.
But if it was easy, everyone would be quitting their jobs in 57 and coming into this business, and 90-something% of startups fail. So I knew those odds when I started. I just didn't want to be one of the 90.
Yeah. There you go. Well, it's growing legs, and I'm sure it's planted a lot of seeds of inspiration, either for potential users or, like you said, like it even just hit me, like occurred to charter schools, these organizations, professional sports teams, neighborhood things. Like there's a lot of opportunity for people to really take a hold of this and to continue to have that. I think the effective support network that you guys have put together and continue put together, just so that, those, we get those numbers down from the 900 plus a day, I think you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Show people that, it truly takes a village, and no matter someone's age, right? There's someone there to help them. So,
yeah, well, that's what we wanted to build. And, 2.5, 3 years down the road, I think we found our sweet spot. And now it's just a matter of just double downing in that area and then kind of letting things take over, But
yeah,
I really enjoyed the opportunity to have this conversation with you. And if anyone in your group or team wants to talk to us, we're always open to talks.
wonderful. Yes, indeed. Well, we'll keep this conversation going. I want to thank you so much, Jeff, for your time. Yeah, thanks for watching, everybody.
Take care. Thanks.
Take care.